Jeopardy! Player Bryce Hong has been left close to tears on the famous game show. Bryce lovingly acknowledged his grandpa as he competed in Jeopardy's Wildcard Champions tournament on Friday. Bryce, who is an ophthalmology resident from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, played well against his competitors Brienne Barker and Garrett Marcotte. Bryce made it to Final Jeopardy with $10.4 thousand. Meanwhile, Brienne, who is a biology professor from Madison, New Jersey, had $12.6 thousand. Garrett, a software engineer from Boulder, Colorado, was in the lead with $27.4 thousand. Bodies of water was the category of the last round. After Jeopardy host Ken Jennings, 49, presented the question and gave the contestants time to make their wagers, he asked Bryce to answer the final clue first. He answered, "What is the Great Salt Lake?" "Rest in peace, Grandpa." Ken inquired about the second half of Bryce's response after he informed the participant that his answer was right. "Did you just lose your grandpa, Bryce?" Ken asked. In remembrance. Holding back tears, Bryce replied that he lost his grandpa last week. Ken also asked him if his grandpa was a Jeopardy fan, to which Bryce confirmed that his grandpa was. Bryce waged $0 in Final Jeopardy, and so he finished Jeopardy with $10.4 thousand. Garrett answered correctly also, and he, too, waged $0. He came out on top with $27.4 thousand, progressing to Jeopardy's semifinals. Brienne came in last place, dropping from $12.6 thousand to $4,399 after she wagered $8,201 on her wrong answer, "What is Oneida Lake?" Down to the wire. Jeopardy announced the full schedule of episodes for the fourth and final round of its lengthy Champions Wildcard tournament earlier this week. Former champion Ken is hosting the strike-based Champions Wildcard for former brief winners. All contestants nabbed 1, 2, or 3 wins in Season 37 or Season 38 and are back for a second shot at glory. The brand new tournament is divided into 4 groups, with Nick Cascone nabbing the third title on Tuesday. He joined the bubbly Emily Sands, and math was Josh Sock in nabbing the special's 2 major prizes, $100,000 and a slot in the next Tournament of Champions. But fans didn't know who would be in the fourth and final round. Jeopardy updated its website on Wednesday to announce the last group. The so-called Hearts group features 27 more quarterfinalists, including the bowtie boasting 3-day champ Yongsheng Wang from 2022. The Jeopardy studio was buzzing with the usual anticipation, the quiet hum of the audience, the bright lights reflecting off the iconic blue board, and the familiar tune of the theme song playing softly in the background. Tonight was another fierce competition, with 3 sharp contestants battling it out for the coveted title of champion. Among them was Daniel Harper, a young man with a calm demeanor and a focused gaze. As the game progressed, Daniel played well, carefully selecting clues and answering with precision. He was determined but not overbearing, his modest confidence shining through in each response. The other contestants, Linda and Mark, were formidable opponents, but Daniel held his own, navigating through tricky categories and building his score steadily. As the game neared its climax, the atmosphere in the studio became more intense. Daniel was leading, but not by much, and it was clear that Final Jeopardy would be the deciding factor. The category for the final clue was historical figures, and the contestants' faces were a mixture of excitement and nerves as they scribbled down their wagers. The contestants quickly began writing their answers. Daniel's hand moved confidently at first, but then his expression changed. His brow furrowed slightly, and a hint of emotion flickered in his eyes. He paused, his pen hovering over the screen, as if lost in thought. The 30 seconds ticked down, and the familiar chime signaled that time was up. "Let's see what our contestants wrote," Alex Trebek's successor said, breaking the tension. Linda revealed her answer first. "Who is Patrick Henry?" she wrote, wagering a modest amount that left her with a solid score. Mark followed, revealing the same answer, with a larger wager that put him slightly ahead of Linda. Finally, it was Daniel's turn. The camera zoomed in on his face as he revealed his response, "Who is Patrick Henry?" But what caught everyone's attention was not just the correct answer, but the shaky handwriting beneath it, *for Grandpa. *. A hush fell over the studio as the words were read aloud. The host paused, recognizing the weight of the moment, and then turned back to Daniel. "It seems like this answer holds a special meaning for you," they said gently. Daniel nodded, swallowing hard as he tried to find his voice. "Yes," he began, his voice thick with emotion. "My grandpa was a huge fan of Jeopardy. He's the one who got me into watching it when I was a kid. We used to watch it together every evening, and he'd always quiz me afterward. Patrick Henry was one of the figures he loved to talk about the most, especially that famous quote. He'd always say it with so much passion, like he was right there in history." Daniel paused, blinking back tears. "He passed away earlier this year, and I just wanted to do this for him. I wanted to make him proud." The audience was silent, many wiping away tears of their own as they felt the weight of Daniel's words. The host nodded empathetically. "I'm sure he's incredibly proud of you, Daniel." Daniel smiled weakly, trying to keep his composure. "Thank you," he said softly. The host then moved to Daniel's wager. "Let's see what you wagered." The screen revealed that Daniel had wagered almost all of his earnings, a risky move that could have cost him the game. But with his correct response, his score skyrocketed, making him the clear winner of the night. The audience erupted in applause, the sound echoing throughout the studio. Daniel stood there, trying to soak it all in, his heart heavy with the bittersweet victory. He had won, but more importantly, he had paid tribute to the man who had inspired him to be there in the first place. As the applause died down and the credits began to roll, the host walked over to Daniel and placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "You did a wonderful thing here tonight," they said softly. "Your grandpa would be so proud of you." Daniel nodded, finally allowing a few tears to escape. "I just wish he could have been here to see it," he whispered. The host smiled kindly. In a way, he was. As Daniel left the stage, clutching his Jeopardy trophy and the check for his winnings, he felt a sense of peace wash over him. The victory was sweet, but the real prize was the connection he had felt with his grandpa throughout the game. It was as if, in those moments, they had been sitting together once again, watching their favorite show and sharing a love for knowledge and history. The ride home was quiet. Daniel replayed the events of the evening in his mind, feeling the weight of his emotions slowly lifting. When he arrived home, he placed the trophy and the check on the mantelpiece, next to a framed photograph of his grandpa.